going to be our first text animation. So all we're going to do is use our last name, have it pop up out of our screen. We're going to add a few principles of animation today with this, including secondary action, follow through and overlap, and some anticipation in here. So we're going to start by creating a new composition that is 1920 by 1080. We're going to make sure this is, we're going to go 10 seconds to start. That's plenty. We probably won't need that, and that's all right. And then we're going to go ahead and name this text animation. Cool. Looks good. We're going to start from there. We're going to grab our type layer. We're going to type out our last name. I'm going to use mine for this. This looks great. I'm also going to go ahead and let's transform and center. And actually, no. Normally, you're going to see the anchor point centered in the layer content. We actually want that anchor point to be in this bottom left corner where mine was before. So I'm going to use my little anchor point tool here. I'm going to click and drag this over into my left corner. And that looks good. I'm also going to move this down into the bottom of my screen. Ooh. Let me bring this back here so you can see that. That looks good. I'm going to make sure it's down here in the bottom. I'm going to center it in my layer to the composition. I don't need to center it in the vertical here. We just want to center it horizontally for right now. We're also going to go ahead and open that up, and under our animate, we're going to animate the skew here. So we're going to change our skew value once it gives you animator 1, range selector 1. We're going to change that skew value to 10. We're also going to go ahead and go underneath our transform tool, and we're going to rotate this by -10 degrees. So you can see that I have a -10 degrees rotation, and if I skew it a +10, that's kind of offsetting each other. So that -10 rotation brings it up, and that skew of 10 is going to still make those straight lines look straight up and down, like on those letters. So that P, you can see that it's up and down, and it's because of the -10 rotation and that +10 skew value. That looks really good. So let's go ahead and open back up that animator 1, and let's go ahead and add our position property here. And actually for now, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and use this in the transform. So we're going to turn on keyframes in our transform properties. I'm going to go ahead and toggle close this text. Under position, we're going to have this pop up after, let me zoom in on my timeline here. It's going to take about 10 seconds, and we're going to move this up, but we're going to add a little bit of overlap and follow through to this. So we're going to start our text layer to come all the way up here, and then that's about 20 frames, and then another 10 frames down the timeline. I'm going to bring it back down just a little bit, not very much, but now it kind of gives a little bit of an overlap and follow through. So my text goes up and it kind of drops back in. First thing, I can see that this is a little too slow, so I'm going to highlight these keyframes and adjust them back. And then I also can see that I brought my text layer up a little bit too much, so I'm going to bring it down while I'm on that keyframe. So now, if I watch this, it goes up and drops down. That's much better. Once we ease these, it'll look a lot better. This looks really good. So that's the position for now. That's all we really need to do with that. We want to bring it up, have it drop in. Looks awesome. The other thing where we want this to happen is we want to go ahead and create where that rotation is dropping down. So about right here, we're kind of overlapping these actions. We're opening up the keyframes on rotation. And then I'm going to go just a little bit past here, and we want to set this back to 0. So now a little bit of overlap looks good. Okay? The last thing we're going to do with this to start is our skewing. So we're going to turn on keyframes for skewing about the same time that we turned that rotation one on. So I've got my skew there. We want it to come down this way just a little bit, and we're actually going to put another keyframe on and skew it more. And then as we go down our timeline, we just want it to wiggle back and forth. So now I'm going to go to a -10, and then I'll go a few more frames, and I'll make this a value that's more than 0 but less than what it was before. So 7 looks good to me. And then I'll go back -1 more time to -5, and then I'll have my value come back to rest at 0. This looks good, so when we watch this back, now we can see it falls down and has a little bit of a wiggle. In the next video, we'll talk about getting this out of our frame, adding a little bit of blur, a little bit of motion, but lastly, we'll talk about how to mask this off and make sure that it comes into the scene a little bit better.